So let's introduce our guest for today. Our guest is Mert Yeter, and Mert is a name that if you've listened to any recent user groups, meetup groups, or maybe been involved in the community, you've probably heard of Mert already, so probably doesn't need an introduction. But let's go ahead and bring him onto the show there. Hi, Mert. How are you doing?
Hi, Chris. I am fine. How are you?
All good, thank you. All well. Thank you for coming on the show. Appreciate you being here.
And thank you. And I am very excited to be your guest today.
Excellent, excellent. So, I guess we've worked with each other a few times on your own show, of course. We've been in the same meetup group talks as well. But for anyone who maybe hasn't watched your show, hasn't been at some of the meetup groups, for example, maybe a quick introduction of yourself.
Okay, sure. I am working as a software architect at Finexus, and we are working on financial messaging and AML products. And I'm an Azure MVP and Traefik ambassador. And I'm going to talk about Traefik today, if you don't know about Traefik, by the way. And I like developing new applications, learning new stuff, and of course, open source. And I am trying to be a regular contributor to all of the communities, user groups, and I like sharing my knowledge.
Excellent. Excellent. And it's a good thing to do, sharing knowledge. So I think there have been a few talks recently where people are talking about what they get back from being
Yes.
part of the community and the great experience that it is. So really pleased to have you in the community and so many great people we can all learn from because we all learn from each other. So that's great. Thank you for sharing.
Thank
So
you.
then, if we think about today's session, I guess you mentioned traffic is going to be one of the things we'll look at a bit later. But I know another area you're passionate about is DevOps. So where should we start?
And today I want to talk about the DevOps resources on Azure, and I want to show you some demos. And people watch my sessions before, and I am not good at with slides, so I want to make live demos, and hopefully everything will go okay today.
Absolutely. Live life on the edge.
Okay, if you are open an Azure portal and create a new resource, there are lots of resources. And you can see today we are going to talk about those, and you can see the containers and also DevOps section. And today I want to talk about these two sections. And you can see there's a DevOps Starter here, and I want to start with it. In DevOps Starter resource, it is going to create an end-to-end DevOps pipeline, both your Azure DevOps CI, CD, and all of the related resources in it. And as you can see, you can choose .NET, Node.js, PHP, Java, and static website, Python, Ruby, and Go. There are lots of options. In default, it starts with GitHub Actions, but I'm going to change this to Azure DevOps to reduce new logins. And also, you can bring your own code, but I'm going to select .NET. And the next one, you can choose ASP.NET, ASP.NET Core, or a simple IoT project. Also, you can create an SQL database. Let's select ASP.NET Core. And next one, we have again lots of options. We can create a Kubernetes service, Service Fabric cluster, Windows Web App, Linux Web App, or a function app if you want to go serverless, and a web app for containers or a classic virtual machine. And let's select web app for containers. And we need to enter our project name, and let's say Mert DevOps. And web name, let's change my location. Okay, I'm not going to change my pricing tier. I think everything looks okay.
I love the power of what you're doing here, Mert, as well, because I think what a lot of people are probably used to is using the portal and creating resources. But what we're doing here is using the portal, but creating a DevOps pipeline as well as the resources. So, we all know that this world we live in is a very agile world, as some people think about. We like to be able to iterate over things really quickly. And to do that, we need these CI/CD pipelines. And this is a really simple and easy way for us to be able to go ahead and make those pipelines. If we're not used to writing YAML files and pipelines and all these things, it actually makes that process really simple for us.
Yes, actually, it is very good resource for starters because you can see everything Azure can give us for a CI/CD pipeline and also hosting our applications.
Yes.
I think that's why its name is DevOps Starter, and it's done. Okay, we have a sample application hosted on Azure repos.
Excellent.
And also it is committed, and now it is building. We can see it is in progress here. Let's click.
And that's a great point, right? Is at no point did you write any code there. You just went into the portal, you clicked a few buttons, you selected the resource you want, the type of framework you want, and it's already gone and committed a template for you. It's committed the pipelines, the definitions. You haven't had to write any code so far at all.
Yes, let's look at the build agent. And we can see the CI pipeline details here. And start with check out my code and create Azure Container Registry. And restore my code. Now it's building. I finished. Now it's testing. We can see a already created pipeline. That's also very good for, as I said, very good for starters to see what an actual CI pipeline looks like. Now it's building an image because we have selected web for containers. And it's done. Now it's pushing the image. And let's go back to the dashboard. Also, we can go to our source code and repositories. And this is our sample application. We can go to details and see our source code. Also, we can edit it right here and make a commit. I think it is now copying templates. Okay, I think the build is okay and test our pass. Now it's CD pipeline. You can see the progress here. Now here 6 tasks. Now it's downloading. We can also see the logs.
I think this is great, right? Is think about the time that it would normally take you to do all of this from scratch, to create an Azure resource, to actually .NET new a project, create a new repository, a new project, push it up, do all of that stuff, then actually make the build pipeline, then make a release pipeline. We're not even 10 minutes into this show yet, and you've already done all of that, which is really awesome.
And you have already noticed it is very quick. Now build it, test pass, and now it's the CD pipeline is in progress. Already created an Azure App Service. As you said, it takes a couple of minutes if you want to create it on Azure portal or on Unif or PowerShell. Let's close this one. Also, this is a very nice view. You can see everything in one page. You can see project homepage. This goes to Azure DevOps. You can go to your repositories, CI pipelines, CD pipelines. You can also go to Agile backlogs and users and groups. You can find everything in this page, which is also very nice.
And that page was the Azure portal, wasn't it? So it's like for the resource itself, it's almost a dashboard or a homepage of all of the things you need for that project.
Yes. Also, it's created an Azure Container Registry. You can see here.
Nice. So again, all of those things that if I think that's something with containers, right? Is sometimes people think it can take quite a while to get started because we have to have the container registry, we have to have the thing we want to go and deploy on, we have to have a CI pipeline for the Docker file and release to the container registry. Then we need a release process to the web app for containers or AKS or Azure Container Instances. But all of that you've literally just done in a few clicks. Really, really cool.
Yes. Also, even if you have experience creating pipelines, it is not easy to start from scratch. There are already templates on Azure pipelines, but this is better because you can find everything you need to create from scratch. Okay. Okay, now it's creating code application settings. Also, you can see every detail while you are waiting. It is also very good.
And I think the other thing as well is you picked the .NET Core example, but there were many other frameworks there as well. There was .NET, of course. I think there was Python. I can't remember. There was quite a lot.
Node.js, Java.
Node.js. Yep. Yeah, exactly. And you don't have to pick the default templates either. You can bring your own existing code as well.
And it's create the application insights also.
Nice.
I think application insights like a default resource.
Yep.
Now it's testing. Also, it creates the test, which is very important for software development lifecycle.
Yep. Yeah, I think everyone likes to go ahead and build things as quickly as they can, but sometimes forget about the testing side of things.
Okay, I think we have. Let's look at release pipelines. This one. Okay, now it's testing.
And I guess
the last task.
Nice. And I guess one of the things I'm thinking here as well, that I'm sure viewers and listeners will probably be thinking of as well, is the release pipelines view that this is using is the classic release pipelines rather than multi-stage YAML pipelines, for example. So I guess that's maybe something to consider is if you are going down the multi-stage YAML pipelines at all, maybe you use this just as an example for a project just to get an idea of how you could go and do that perhaps.
Yes. And you can also edit your pipeline here and your release. You can edit your task if you want to add something or change. I think it is okay. And these are application endpoints. Let's click browse. And it's done.
Nice.
And how many minutes?
15. In the 15 minutes, we've committed code, created the resources, deployed a container registry, an Azure web app for containers, deployed a container image to that container registry, then deployed the image to Azure web app for containers. Not bad for 15 minutes work.
Yes. And let's have a look at the classic way. And I want to go back to Azure portal.
Sure.
And let's have a look at containers. And there are a couple of options here. First one is container instances that you can, if you have a small application and want to run on a single instance, you can use container instances.
Sure.
And the second one is container registry. If you don't want to use Docker app or you don't have a private registry but want a private registry hosted on in cloud, you can create your own registry on Azure Container Registry. Also, you can use your containers on web app, and you don't need to use a single instance. You can use your Docker Compose files for multiple container images. Also, we have an AKS, Azure Kubernetes service, which we are going to talk about today. And let's look at container instances. Okay, let's say, let's select a quick start image. You can also select from Azure Container Registry, and we have an already created one on DevOps Starter, but also you can select Docker Hub or other registry. You can use your private registry option here, but I want to use a quick start image. And we have three options here. First one is Hello World container with Linux. Also, we have an Nginx container, and also we have a Windows web server. Let's select Nginx, and that's the US Europe. And I'm not going to change the size. I think it's enough. Okay. Okay, the default port is open.
And those images back on the first page, they were just like quick start images, right? We could go and bring our own images, for example. We could go and build our own application image. These are just for quick example images, I think. Cool.
And you can use your Docker app or your own container registry like this.
Nice.
Okay. These are okay. I think our port is 80. Okay. Advanced. You can change your restart policy here. I think it's okay. And I'm not going to enter in tech. And let's say great. Now this is just a container instance resource creating. And I want to show you how DevOps Starter is much more quicker than creating these resources one by one.
Sounds good.
Okay, I can go to resource. Yes, containers. I can see my container running.
Nice.
And also I can connect to my container. You can select your startup, bin bash or bin sh. Okay, I get an error.
It might not like bin bash by the looks of it.
Yeah. Can change your text size and font here. Okay, I think it's started. Let's start with overview. Let's try to connect from web. I'm going to close this one. Okay.
There you go.
Now it's working. Okay. There are many options. There's a basic resource.
Mhm.
Let's try it again. Okay.
There you go. I do
Yeah.
find a lot of the container images prefer the bin sh rather than bin bash.
Yeah.
I guess
I
it's the
think.
underlying image.
Oh, okay. It's Alpine image. That's
Yeah.
why it is. It needs the sh.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. This is very good for testing your container images. You want to test your image if it's working or something like that before you want to publish it on web app or AKS. Let's go back to my resource. Okay, the second one is container registry. I'm not going to create a new one, just want to show you the details because we have already created. You will enter a register name, your location, if you want an availability zone, but it's on premium registry, and you can select networking and encryption setting, which is a very nice feature. And that's all. You can create easily your container registry on Azure. Okay, one, and the other one is an AKS, and also you can create a web app for containers. And I don't prepare any resources created before. I want to show you how we create them. So I think it takes a couple of minutes to create an AKS resource. So I want to start the deployment process,
Sure.
and we can talk about the other topics. Is it
Sure.
okay?
Sounds good.
Okay. Let's select AKS. Okay. So let's use a name. Okay. And I don't need availability zone. Just a small demo. And I'm going to change the size because I don't need this big. I think B2S is enough. Okay.
And I think that's one of the great things about AKS is that you can have this concept of multiple node pools. So if you need some workloads that have like no significant requirements from like a CPU or memory, you can have those nodes. But then you could have a different node pool, for example, for like a GPU type virtual machine. If you've got like a big machine learning workload or something like that, it's very powerful.
Yes. Also, you can choose your Kubernetes version if you want to work on a different version. So there's a preview one here, and you can work on older versions, but I'm going to select the default one. Also, another good feature is auto scale, and let's make it 3. Okay, you can add any additional node pools here, but I'm not going to add for now. And you can change your authentication method. You can use source principal or system assigned managed identity. It's the default one. And I'm going to use role-based access control. But if you want to disable it, you can disable it here. And also you can use Azure Active Directory. And you can choose your OSDC encryption. I'm not going to change this one. And also you can change the networking options. You can use Kubernetes or Azure CNI. And I'm going to change my DNS prefix. And you can see a standard load balancer for traffic routing. But after we create it, we are going to use Traefik for load balancing. And we are going to deploy it as an ingress. So I'm not going to change default options. And you can also integrate your container registry, or you can create a new one from this page. And you can use container monitoring, but it needs a log analytics workspace. And if you don't have an existing one, it will create a new one. Or you can change the name, automatically name, or create a new workspace. And you can also apply Azure policy, but the default option is disabled. And I don't need for this demo for container monitoring, so I'm going to disable it.
I think this is an important point for anyone who maybe is looking at some of the different resources we've created, because so far it's all been based on containers. We've had Azure Web App for Containers, which is like a really great PaaS service for being able to go and easily manage and scaling our containers. We've got things like Azure Container Instances, where we can deploy an individual container if we need. And then we've got something like Azure Kubernetes Service, AKS. But AKS is a lot more like a platform for managing a platform, if you like. I think this is the thing, is actually you have a lot more configuration options, and you have a lot more that you need to go and manage with Kubernetes. So I think that's something for people just to bear in mind as they're looking through the container options here.
Yes. And this is a standard one. If you want to add text, you can add here. And let's go to the review and create page. Okay, validation pass. Let's click create. Okay, and I think we will wait a couple of minutes. So do you want me to switch to Traefik? Or
Sure.
shall I talk about other resources on Azure portal?
Let's talk about Traefik for a bit. I think that's maybe a good way to go, and just to bring it back and refresh everyone's memories. So not only are you an MVP with Microsoft, but also you are a Traefik ambassador as well. So this is another area where you are passionate about, and you talk a lot about as well, I think, Mert.
Okay. So let's go to the page. And Traefik has lots of Traefik labs and has lots of products. When lots of people say the Traefik, it's and go to Traefik Proxy. Let's close the. I think it's better right now. So when people say that we are using Traefik, it means Traefik Proxy, because Traefik Labs has different products like Traefik Mesh and Traefik Pilot. And I think we can talk about these products for other sessions. So I want to go to documentation to talk about Traefik. So if you like MS Docs, and you are going to like the Traefik documentation, because it is very detailed and you can find lots of samples, detailed explanations. And this is the basic explanation for the Traefik. And Traefik is a cloud native edge router. As you can see from the image, you can use Traefik to route your front-end request to your backend. For example, you have a request from api.domain.com, and you want to transfer it from your to your API server, or you have a domain.com/web. You want to route them to your web server hosted on Kubernetes, or you have an admin pages like backoffice.domain.com. You want to route them a different hosting platform, like you don't want to, for example, you don't want to host them on Kubernetes cluster, you want to host them on a Docker Swarm or another one. You can route the request there. And my favorite feature is an auto discovery. It's very small font here, but I am going to show you in the demo after our resource is created. You don't need to change any configuration if you change something in your backend. For example, you have 3 container instances and you want to increase them to 10, and you don't need to change any configuration file on Traefik, because it uses providers to listen the backend and automatically detect the changes and continue on load balancing. And Traefik not only a router, it has lots of features. You can find it on documentation. For example, you can use Let's Encrypt to add certificates to your requests. By the way, it's a built-in feature. And the other one is the middlewares. You can tweak your requests before you send them to your backend. You can think that like on ASP.NET Core middlewares. When your request comes to your endpoint, it goes to the router. And after that, you can define some middlewares, one or more than one. And your requests go to the middlewares. And if you make some modification on the request, the modified requests go to your service and then your containers or your Kubernetes cluster.
Nice.
There are lots of middlewares, like you can add your authentication. You don't need to write code or test or make any deployment. Just a single line configuration, and you easily add an authentication layer. Also, you can add buffering, and you can add a circuit breaker, which is very important for your application.
That one's very cool. I really like that one.
And compress is the basic one. Also, you can use digest authentication. You don't need to use a basic one. Also, you can use forward authentication. If you have an authentication server, you can redirect your request to your authentication server. And regarding to the response, you can return unauthorized, or you can proceed to your resource. And also, you can limit requests. You can IP whitelisting. You can do rate limiting. And also, you can add paths or prefix. You can use regex like this if you have a complex scenarios.
I think that's awesome, isn't it? There's so many great features in there that I think, we see elements of this in like a CDN or Azure Front Door, where you can go and do things like URL replacements, fragment replacements, replacing paths. The fact you can do circuit breaker and retry as part of these middleware services, I think is absolutely awesome. You can even do headers there, I can see as well. It's a really, really powerful proxy.
Yes. And the good news is you don't need to stick with these middlewares. You can write your own custom middleware. And also there's a marketplace. You can upload your custom middleware and share your middleware with other Traefik users.
You answered my next question.
Okay.
There you go. That's awesome.
And also there's an Traefik pilot that is a software as a service platform. You can connect your Traefik instances, and you can see their metrics and their health from a web page, which is also great if you have more than one cluster to already implemented Traefik. And you also add middlewares or install plugins from there. Also, the other one is the observability. You can use, for example, Datadog, InfluxDB, Prometheus, and other well-known products. And as I can say, Traefik, you can implement Traefik for every known product. And it is very easy to use. If you want to start Traefik, you can use a quick start, and you can start with Docker. And you can find very detailed explanations. Also, there are lots of Traefik ambassadors like me. You can reach them on social media, or there is a forum on Traefik page. You can also ask your questions. Also, you can reach me, and I can help you if you have any questions about Traefik. And our deployment is complete.
And for anyone that's interested, Mert's details are on the Cloud with Chris website as well. So definitely go and connect with Mert, because he has a fountain of knowledge, as you can see.
Okay, thank you. And let's go back to VS Code. I'm going to change my share. Sorry, I have a very big screen, so I need to share by window.
This is where we talk about ultra widescreen monitors, right?
Yeah. Okay.
There we go.
Okay. This is my GitHub repository, Traefik resources, and you can find in Docker and Kubernetes samples. For example, I have implementation samples for every build and middleware. Just run these samples and you can try them on your own computer. But today I'm going to show you Kubernetes section. Before we apply this deployment file, I need to change some values. For example, AKS DNS domain name label and domain name, and I need to add a public IP for our load balancer. So I'm sorry, but I need to go back to browser again.
All good. All good.
Okay.
So while you're doing that, I'm familiar with other reverse proxies. I've used, Nginx, for example, in the past. I've used other examples in the Kubernetes space as well. But I love the middleware kind of approach that Traefik has. It's really awesome.
Okay, thank you. So I need to create a public IP because let me show you and resource groups. When you create an AKS resource, it creates an, I think it's this one. Yes, it's create another resource group and there is a public IP in that and it is for the default load balancer. But I'm going to create a new public IP for Traefik. And if you don't create a new one and use that public IP, and probably you'll get a multiple IP address error. So I'm going to create a new public IP in this resource group. Yes. Okay. Okay, I'm going to use IP version 4 and let's say Microsoft Network. Let's give some DNS. Okay, just give a name for my resource and DNS name label and leave everything as default. Let's say create.
So this is an IP address then that we'll use for our ingress, if I understand.
Yes.
Cool.
And go to resource. Now I'm going to copy this one and I apologize again, but I need
All
to
good.
change.
No need to apologize. I am ready to bring the new screen online.
Okay. I need to buy me a normal monitor for this kind of sessions.
The ultra wide is good for the productivity.
Yes, not for sessions. Because I use the whole screen sharing with our session on Vash as a user group.
Yes.
And Simon didn't like that.
I remember.
But didn't like it because he already has an ultra wide.
As well, yes, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think a font size is okay.
Yes, yeah, great, thank you.
Okay, now first I'm going to add my domain name label. And this is a service. I'm going to create an ingress service here. And port 80 is for our request endpoint. And port 8080 is for Traefik dashboard. And place a public IP here. And this is a simple application, Traefik HMI. It's a simple container that shows the request details and IP address and host name. It's very good for use in this kind of demos. And let's change this one.
So that is the application then that we see when we go over just normal port 80. Cool.
And this is the ingress definition. By the way, I have updated API versions in my GitHub repository, and I will update this regularly if any changes in the API version, so you won't get any warnings when you run kubectl apply command. Okay, I think we have changed all of them.
So just one quick question there then. So we had the, I think it was in the service or the ingress potentially, there was a port 80 and then port 8080. So
Yeah.
port 80 goes to the web app. Here's the port 8081. What's deployed there?
It's the Traefik dashboard.
Okay.
Traefik is a very nice dashboard that you can see every detail on your request.
Sure.
And I think I need to log in before. Let's try this one. You cannot see it now.
That's it. You're safe. The credentials are not shared.
Yeah, okay. So, let's find, I think, need to get credentials. I didn't use that before. Credentials. Hopefully I can remember the commands. Okay, all right. My previous one. Okay. And I have an alias defined for kubectl k. Everything is okay. Okay, now we are connected to our kubectl to our EKS. Now I'm going to deploy this configuration file. And also I have an role-based access control file like this. It's very basic. You don't need to change anything on this one. Let's deploy this. Sorry. Okay. And okay, we created a namespace, service account, deployment apps in ingress service, and I deployed our application. Let's deploy the role-based access control. Okay. Oh, I'm right today.
Nice.
Okay. We get our external IP. We don't need to wait. Let's copy that one. And our pods are up and running. And you can see my service and my Traefik service. And I think it all looks good. And I'm sorry again, I need to switch back to my
good.
browser.
All good.
Okay. Let's switch back to stop screen.
There you go.
Okay. No, not IP address. Let's try the DNS name. I think it looks better. And paste and go. And also I'll HTTP sites. Let's try the dashboard. Okay, this is the
I see the dashboard.
famous
Cool.
famous Traefik dashboard. Also, it's a very nice feature. We have a cool dark theme. And so let's start with the entry points. This is the entry points I mentioned on the YAML file. Port 880 for this dashboard, and port 80 is for the entry point, for your web entry point. And also you can see HTTP, TCP, and UDP details here. And there are three main sections in the routers, services, and middlewares. Middlewares is the section I mentioned before. You can tweak your request. And the services is your backend that redirect your request to your containers. And the routers, as you can understand from their name, they route requests to services. And let's explore. Okay, we have three routers. This one is ours, defined. And these are for Traefik's. First one is for API and other one is for dashboard. And I can see Traefik uses itself for its dashboard and API access. And let's go to details. So it's a more clear view. There's an endpoint, port 80. Your request come to endpoint, and it's then come to HTTP router, and it redirect your request to the service. If you have a middleware, it will place between the router and service, and you can see all the middlewares there. And you can see the router details. Let's go to the services. Also, you can see the Kubernetes logo. It's the provider we are using. And the other logos belongs to Traefik. This one is Traefik's internal services. Okay, now we have two different containers, because in the YAML file, I set replicas to 2. And you can see the service detail. It's from Kubernetes. Its type is load balancer. And you can see other details. You can also comment on this one. Also, you can see metrics and tracing details here if they are enabled. And also you can see your provider.
And that's where we'd start using things like Prometheus, Datadog, the other ones you mentioned earlier. Great.
And let's try again. I think it's because the HTTPS stuff. Okay, let's get this off. Let me try another browser, because it's redirect your request to HTTPS. I think it's a problem.
I've just tried HTTP here, and it seems
because I can see the service created here. And before switching browser, I want to show the Traefik Pilot. Is a software as a service. You can.
Is it because you have mertcates.domain.west Europe in that path there? So if you look at the Traefik URL on the dashboard.
Yes.
So you have mertcates.domain.west Europe.
Oh, .domain. Okay. I think you need. Okay, let's Okay, let's do this. I will fix that typo, and let's increase the containers on the service so we
Sure.
can see the difference here. Okay.
Great.
Okay, I'm not going to switch because it's a very easy stuff.
Sure.
And let's change the domain. Okay, I will change the ingress settings and change the replica to on deployment. Let's make it 5, and I'm going to save it and apply again.
Cool. And I really like how simple the Traefik dashboard is. You know, it makes it really easy to understand what ingress points you, excuse me, what ingress points you have deployed, the domains expected, the IP addresses and the backends, the middleware as well. Really, really nice interface.
Okay. So you can see the new containers. I just hit refresh. Nothing change in the configuration. And let's try it again. Okay.
Cool.
Let's try to hit. Okay. You can see it's going to a different container every time. And it's load balancing.
Nice. I'm also hitting the same endpoint right now.
Also, you can try this. You can try the address yourself.
Yep. Yeah, I'm doing it exactly. Good.
So if you want to try this with less containers, for example, 2 or 3, and you cannot get the change on your browser, you can use web requests on PowerShell or curl on Bash, because sometimes browsers use cache and get the same ID.
Yes.
And some of my sessions, I get this problem. But if you have more than 3, like this demo, it's fine.
Excellent. Great. Awesome. I'm a big fan of Traefik. I never knew how powerful it was. It looks like an awesome tool and an awesome service to go and use. And I now understand how the Traefik pilot works, I think. I was trying to understand how that fits in compared with Traefik Proxy, but I guess the dashboard you deployed kind of connects back to Traefik Pilot and you can go and have
Yes,
an overall dashboard then. Cool.
it's not actually overall dashboard. It's like you can. It's give you a GUID, a key. You
Yes.
can enter that key your Traefik instance and restart it. After that, you can see your Traefik instance metrics on Traefik dashboard. So you can track your cluster's health from that dashboard. You can define webhooks or some health checks that you can track your cluster's health. It's a very easy interface.
Yeah, gotcha. Nice.
And the good thing is the Traefik Proxy is an open source project, and you can see it on GitHub. And it released a new version a couple of days ago, 2.4.9.
Excellent.
Also, Traefik looking for maintainers. And if you're interested and your experience in Go, you can make PRs, and all the community members are welcome by the Traefik.
Awesome. And I think the session, by the time we release this one, that went out on Wednesday, so the Wednesday before this one goes out, I had a discussion with Annie Talvasto, and she works in the Kubernetes space, cloud native space as well. So exactly the point you made just there. Open source projects are looking for support, looking for maintainers and people to contribute. So anyone listening in who is inspired should definitely go and help out and take a look.
Okay, great.
Awesome. Excellent. I've learned a lot about Traefik. I knew kind of roughly about Traefik, and it's this kind of reverse proxy, etc. I didn't know how powerful it was, but also I didn't know there was traffic mesh as well. I've learned there's another service mesh to go and learn. So
Yeah.
I've learned many new things. It's awesome.
By the way, I want to make a small definition for traffic mesh. It
Sure.
is not using sidecar,
Okay.
and that's the difference from the other service mesh solutions. Maybe we can talk about on another session because
Sounds
it's a
good.
whole different topic.
Sure.
And maybe we can make a middleware specific sessions.
Sounds
By the way,
good.
I have an middleware session that I went through all of the samples on my GitHub. It's in Turkish, but you can check them from the YAML files and the demos.
Sure.
This is also, if you want to see all of them in action, also you can
Awesome.
try. And I'd like to have some forks and PRs for my resources.
Absolutely. Excellent. No, I think a session on traffic mesh, a session on the traffic middleware would be great. I think I certainly want to see that because I think those middlewares are just so powerful. I love that kind of pluggable architecture and this idea there's a community that builds custom middlewares as well. I need to go check that out. That's really cool. But thank you for bringing the topic today here, Mert. I think it's been a really great session. I've learned a lot, and hopefully people will go ahead, start using things like DevOps Starter, some of the container technologies, and check out Traefik as well.
Okay, I hope so. And thank you for having me. And I am really excited to be here.
Awesome. No, thank you for being here, Mert. It's a pleasure and a brilliant session. So thank you for joining today.
Thank you.